Carl Jung stated that what we deny controls us, and what we accept transforms us. In other words, everything you avoid seeing within yourself continues to guide your life without you even realizing it. Similarly, Socrates, with his famous question, "Do you truly know yourself?" challenges us to look beyond the surface, beyond the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. If this resonates with you, know that you are not alone. This cycle of repetition happens because the human mind operates in patterns. And often, these patterns were not chosen by us, they were programmed throughout life, shaped by experiences, external influences, and even the collective unconscious. Have you ever felt trapped inside your own mind? As if the same thoughts, doubts, and fears kept spinning in circles without ever leading anywhere? You try to find an answer, a solution, but it seems that the more you think, the more lost you become. Like a maze where every exit leads back to the starting point. Do you truly see the maze, or are you merely walking within it, unaware of its invisible walls? The human mind is a meaning-making machine. From the moment we are born, we are trained to interpret the world around us, searching for logic and reason in everything. But there is a problem. Much of this logic is built on beliefs we have never questioned. Imagine someone walking through a dark maze, relying only on touch to find the way out. This person feels the walls, follows paths that seem promising, but unknowingly keeps returning to the same spot. What they don't realize is that there is an exit right in front of them, but they can't see it because they are relying only on the senses they know. The same happens with our minds. Many of our thoughts follow pre-established paths, patterns we repeat without noticing. These patterns come from past experiences, the culture we grew up in, and even the collective unconscious, that vast ocean of shared ideas and beliefs described by Carl Jung. But what happens when we start questioning these paths? When, instead of simply following what we already know, we stop to look at the maze from the outside? The answer lies in awareness. The first key to escaping the maze is recognizing that it exists. As long as you believe your thoughts are the absolute truth, you will keep walking in circles within them. When you begin to question yourself, something changes. You stop wandering blindly and start seeing. The mind may be a maze, but the exit was never hidden. It was simply beyond the sight of those who never questioned their own path. Your thoughts are like train tracks. They follow a pre-established path, repeating the same routes day after day. And just as a train cannot simply leave its tracks without a significant change, your mind also keeps returning to the same patterns, unless something causes it to wake up. Carl Jung described the collective unconscious as an invisible network connecting all human minds, filled with beliefs, fears, and narratives passed down through generations. Many of the ideas you hold about yourself and the world were not even created by you. They were absorbed, repeated, and reinforced until they became part of your reality. But what happens when your mind enters a cycle of repetition? You wake up, think about the same problems, feel the same emotions, and reinforce the same beliefs. This creates what we can call mental loops, automatic thought patterns that continuously reinforce themselves. These mental loops are like revolving doors. You feel like you're moving, but in reality, you're just spinning in the same place. And the longer you stay inside this cycle, the harder it seems to break free. But there is a way out, and it begins with self-awareness. When you start noticing these cycles, when you question each automatic thought, a space opens up. That space is the beginning of freedom. The next time a limiting thought arises, instead of simply accepting it, ask yourself, is this really true? Where did this idea come from? Does this belief serve me, or does it imprison me? The mind may repeat the past, but awareness can choose a new future. Do you believe you have full control over your thoughts? That every decision you make is conscious? If so, it might be time to take a closer look. Socrates once challenged people with his famous question, "Do you truly know yourself?" because deep down, much of what we call thinking is nothing more than an automatic reaction based on old conditioning. The mind works like a conditioned reflex. Faced with a trigger, a word, a look, a memory, you react without even realizing it. Someone says something that bothers you, and before you can reflect, emotion has already taken over. You go through a situation and automatically assume you know what it means, based on past experiences. But is this truly thinking, or just repeating? Much of what we call thought is merely an automatic process, a script that keeps running because it has never been questioned. Like a program running in the background, the mind creates stories based on what it already knows, and, as a result, it keeps reaching the same conclusions. But you are not your thoughts. If you were, you wouldn't be able to observe them. And if you can observe them, it means there is something beyond the mind, a self that perceives but is not trapped within the machinery of automatic thinking. The control we believe we have over the mind is often just an illusion. When you are trapped in repetitive thought cycles, it feels like there is no escape. Every time you try to solve a problem, your mind leads you back to the same starting point, as if you were walking in circles. Carl Jung said that until you become conscious, the unconscious will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This means that as long as you don't recognize the patterns controlling your thoughts and behaviors, you will continue reacting to them without realizing it. The first step to breaking this cycle is to bring your attention to the present moment without judgment. This is the essence of mindfulness. It's not about fighting thoughts or trying to empty your mind, but about observing them without identifying with them. Imagine for a moment that your thoughts are clouds passing through the sky. Some are light and fleeting, others dark and heavy, but none of them are the sky itself. The sky remains unchanged, regardless of the clouds that come and go. When you practice presence, you realize that your thoughts are just temporary phenomena, and that you don't have to follow them. Try a simple exercise right now. Take a deep breath and bring your attention to the air flowing in and out. Observe any thoughts that arise without trying to control them, just noticing their presence. Now ask yourself, who is observing these thoughts? That space of observation is the true way out of the maze. The mind may be noisy, restless, full of questions and answers. But the one who notices that noise is not the mind, it is the awareness behind it. Mindfulness is not about silencing your thoughts or battling them. It is about recognizing that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer. And when that realization happens, the maze begins to dissolve. We often think of our beliefs as absolute truths, like impenetrable walls that define how far we can go. But they are not walls, they are doors. Some are open, others seem locked, but all can be crossed if we know how. From childhood, we absorb ideas about who we are, what is possible, and how the world works. These beliefs are shaped by personal experiences, culture, education, and even the collective unconscious, as Carl Jung pointed out. The key to passing through these doors is self-observation. Whenever a limiting thought arises, pause. Questioning weakens the beliefs that imprison us. We don't need to fight against our old beliefs. We just need to recognize them, understand them, and consciously choose which ones still serve our journey. When we realize that the limitations we carry are merely doors waiting to be opened, we stop being prisoners of our own minds and become the architects of our own destiny. Socrates challenged us to reflect on the true nature of the self with his famous question, "Know thyself." Yet, we often try to understand ourselves only through the mind, and the mind, by its very nature, is never silent. Carl Jung spoke about the importance of integrating our shadow, meaning the recognition of our unconscious parts. But who is this self that does the observing? Is there something beyond the analytical mind, something more than a constant stream of thoughts? Yes. And that something is your awareness. What separates us from this realization is the illusion that we are our thoughts. But if we can observe them, that means we are something greater than them. When you notice yourself thinking, who is noticing? When a storm of emotions arises and you can watch them without fully identifying with them, who is the one observing? That is the self that cannot be named, because any name would simply be another thought. It is the silent space behind everything, the pure awareness that has always been present. And when we connect with this state of presence, the maze loses its power. Not because all problems disappear, but because we finally realize that we were never truly trapped. We were just looking in the wrong direction. If your mind is a maze and you've finally realized that the exit has always been within reach, what should you do with this knowledge? Practice self-observation. Awakening doesn't happen in a single magical moment. It unfolds through the daily commitment to looking at yourself with awareness. Notice when you are trapped in repetitive thought cycles, identify the beliefs shaping your actions, and, most importantly, question them. Socrates didn't teach answers. He asked questions, because he knew that true wisdom is born from inner investigation. The second step is to accept that the path is not linear. You may have moments of clarity followed by times when you feel lost again. That's part of the process. Carl Jung said, "The journey of self-knowledge is not linear, but an ascending spiral. With each turn, we face the same challenges, but from a new level of awareness. The way out of the mind's maze lies in realizing that we were never truly trapped. There has always been a space between you and your thoughts, a consciousness behind the confusion. And within that space lies freedom. What will you do with this now? That answer is yours to give."